Day. Good day. Today we're going to be talking about something that's very uncomfortable for most people. And I have, as a spiritualist, when I first did my channel, and I'm going to be upfront with you, I never spoke about racism because I thought it was a moot point. And the reason why I thought it was a moot point and have been thinking that for many years is because I felt as if we needed to understand the truth of reincarnation. Because if you believe in reincarnation, right, which I'm starting to realize, it's weird how you sit in front of something right in front of your face for years and you never realize that it's actually shit. I'll give you an example. The caste system in India. They believe in reincarnation in India, and yet they have a caste system. And the caste system is racist. I'm sorry, it's racist. It's inappropriate. So how can you be spiritualist if you believe in a caste system? And people can actually argue the point that, well, there's a reason and this and that. It deals with karma and this and that. But we can argue the point of racism as something valid again and again, but it's still racist. So this conversation today is about racism. And it is about, and what launched it today, well, yesterday I did a live on Recall, my book, and I talked about how in the ancient world, we were still innocent of racism, believe it or not. I remember this quite well in my own experiences in the ancient world. But I also remember my husband, when we went to the Sylvia Browne, it was a particular, what was it? I'm trying to remember where it was located, but it was a beautiful place that overlooked Golden Gate Bridge. And it was it was a building that had been built in the 1800s. So it was a theater. And in it, Sylvia Browne guided a whole guiding meditation in finding out your past life. If you've ever done my soul retrieval guided meditation where you're going down this hallway of light and there's all these doors on either side of you, and then you open a door, that's where I got it from, to give her credit. I've given her credit before on that, but that was the prompt, okay, to open the door and to see her past lives. And one of the past lives my husband had, and we were both about probably 24, 23, was he was an ancient Roman warrior and most likely general. He had a whole past life. He was kind of short and stocky with black hair on his arms, and he was fighting. And it was awful. It was awful. And as soon as he could, he abruptly opened his eyes. He didn't want to be in that battle. But what he related to me is that he would see the African warriors, for example, because apparently he had a campaign in Africa. He admired them and he wanted to be African. He thought they were tall. He thought they were beautiful. And my husband ended up incarnating as an African American with Native American blood, very heavy, Pawnee, Choctaw. You could see it in his face. And these incredible emerald green eyes that shifted into olive and gold. It was the most extraordinary eyes to this day I've ever seen in my life. I'm not kidding. Fucking hands down, over blue eyes, over gray eyes, just incredible eyes. And, but anyway, so he had related that as a Roman, he looked up to the beauty of African warriors, African people. And when Alexander the Great is conquering, and I related to that Persia, when he conquered Persia, all of his men married noble women, Persian women. Well, you could say, well, the Persian people are white. Okay, you're right. But in some aspects, it's still intermarriage of different cultures. And when Tomeli, one of his great generals, actually was like his right-hand man, if I'm correct, Tomeli, which is the Tomeli line of Cleopatra, the last pharaoh, queen of Egypt. But anyway, when Tomeli went into Egypt, what did he do? Well, he fucking intermarried. And there's this weird idea that he did not. Now, if you've ever bred animals, for example, Persian cats, the reason why they have flat faces today is sexual interbreeding. That's what flattens their face. We've seen some of the royal families who have interbred again and again. Well, look at the Rothschilds. They keep trying to keep that money in their family, and no offense, but you can see the interbreeding and it's not pretty. I'm not going to be politically correct. I don't give a shit. I'm not here to fucking cater to people's egos. But what I will say, what's important, is that in the ancient world, it made absolute sense to, when you conquered a country, to settle your people, that you would marry a noble woman of that culture. It didn't matter what color she was. And we have the great story of Solomon and Sheba, Queen Sheba, out of, I believe, if I'm correct, Ethiopia. And there's no racism in there. None. So racism became an economic stance, because even during African American slavery, and I have to talk about the separateness of it, is in African American slavery, it was unlike any other slavery in anywhere in the world, anywhere in history. Throughout history, any warrior, conqueror that took a country, a village, whatever, everyone was enslaved. It didn't matter what color you were. Okay? Typically, the way they kept track of who was a slave and who was not was a brand. They would brand you. And this is known. Kind of like branding a horse to your ranch, right? There's a particular symbol that you have on all the hides of your cows and your horses, so everyone knows that that belongs to you. Okay? So it was not based on skin color at all. It was based on the fact, I took your fucking people, now you're mine. Your women are mine, your children are mine, you're mine. Okay, and your men are mine, or else they're not going to survive if they don't capitulate to my rule. So there was no slavery in the ancient world in the way that we now have unfortunately lived it. And so one of the things I remember reading in Martin Bernal's Black Athena, he was a Jewish scholar, which I've mentioned here and there. He was a Jewish scholar, white Jewish scholar, okay, who was a professor at Rutgers University, and who wrote a series of books. And in him trying to understand his own Semitic heritage, meaning Judaism, he came across the fact that mixtures of Greek and North African peoples in that ancient time created the Semitic race as we know it today, the Arabic race, the Jewish race for some people. A lot of people convert to Judaism, but they're white people, okay? Just like people convert to Buddhism and they're Norwegian. It's like, we need to understand that. So religion doesn't make you a people doesn't make you a religion. So anyway, but what he did come across, which I thought was interesting, is he attacked the 19th century historians, anthropologists, Egyptologists, all of them. He just fucking went at them because he connected the truth, which was in American slavery, which was unlike, and I'll explain to you in more detail. American slavery was not like anything else. So American slavery was the minute you had a mulatto. In France, they call it métissage, which is a weave. I love the way the French explain it because it's a weave of cultures. It's a weave of bloodlines. So métissage or métis in French means the weaving of cotton and linen. I kid you not. And it also includes bloodlines, different racial bloodlines. And so a person who's biracial would be called a métissage. And here in America, they would be called mulatto, right? Which is kind of a put down. It's kind of, and I'm not going to get into it because it's very politically incorrect, but it's not a nice thing to say to someone. But what he said in his book, Black Athena, he's got volume 1, 2, and 3, which are very expensive to buy. When he came out with these books, my God, the fucking vileness of other scholars who fucking just tried to destroy his career. By the way, he's dead. God bless him. For what he was trying to expose, which was just a scholarly, soberly, non-racist, objective viewpoint of what he had discovered. And so what he said, which I think really the African American population and even some Africans understand this, is this whole fight with, for example, Egypt and its racial beginnings, and that the dynasties of the great pharaohs were closer to being Sudanese than Arabic. Arabic is from intermixed breeding with various conquerors. And eventually that, and you could go, and I'm not here to, this is my opinion. This is from what I've read from people I respect. And to me, it's from common sense because I look Semitic. Okay. I look very Semitic. I've had Egyptians come up to me, Hindus come up to me. I also look Hindu. I've had Hispanics come up to me. I look Brazilian as well. And my mixture has made me see it full front since I was a child. So I know from, and if I compare myself to someone who is Arabic, who would claim to be pure Arabic, they'll think I'm one of them. So the Arab bloodlines, in my opinion, okay, no way am I a scholar. I don't have a PhD and I don't give a shit. This is a conversation I would have with my girlfriend or my friend or my lover or whoever. And I'm having a conversation with you. And so what Martin Bernal discussed, which I thought blew my mind. I read his book when I was 30 years old, thereabouts. That to continue slavery as we knew it, the barbarity of slavery, the breeding farms that they had here in this country and so forth, okay, was that you had to whitewash Egypt. Because what they were discovering with the pyramids of Giza and the tombs and the mummies and this and that and the other and all the shit that was like mind-blowing, it was blowing the minds of the Western, we're going to call it white world. How could they actually make peace with the fact that they were enslaving people from that part of the world? And Egypt is in Africa, let's not forget. But okay, let's move on. And people have a hard time with this. It's the weirdest thing. Like, Egyptians are so fucking hard bent. Now, one of the things that I remember hearing that, like, King Ramses II, I believe that's who they were referring to. I'm doing this from memory. Again, I never prepare. I'm talking from my heart. And I'll tell you why I started this live on that subject in a minute. Is that King Ramses had red hair. Well, okay. Henna is a big fucking beautiful coloring agent used on hands, on palms, and also on hair. Well, why? Well, because it prevents lice. Why? What else? Well, if you have white hair, it will dye your hair red. That's why. So most people in the ancient world, and if you look at various types of African tribes, there are African tribes that actually use mud, a red clay. I could call it henna, but I won't because I'm not sure exactly what the mixture is, where they plait their hair with this thing that turns their hair red. It's red. In some cases, dark auburn. So it takes more than just a hair color, not to mention Eve, the beginning of the human race as we know it, if we are to follow that route, if we are to, can produce darkest skin as you can imagine with blue eyes. Sapphire blue eyes, pale gray eyes, green eyes, and so forth. And red hair, blonde hair. You look at the Aborigines. So I'm not sure why people just don't fucking use common sense and look and just not be triggered. But why have I never discussed it? Well, because I figured in the way I approach life, I thought if people understood that they were reincarnated souls, taking on avatars of Chinese lineage, Japanese lineage, Hindustani, Indian lineage, Native American lineage, and so on and so forth, and various African tribe lineages, and on and on and on, and mixed biracial lineages throughout the histories of our of this planet. Racism would collapse on its own. But unfortunately, that's not what's happening. I've been sitting here waiting for something to happen where suddenly people would have a spiritual fucking compass and realize I've been black, I've been white, I've been gay, I've been a lesbian, I've been a warrior, I've been all these things. And so racism is no longer part of my bucket list. I refuse this. And whatever the fuck I'm going to have to do to destroy this template, I will do it. If I'm a true spiritual, this is how I'm going to act. I'm going to act like I am in this temporary avatar, and it doesn't define who I am, nor will it ever. It never occurred to me in the spiritual community that racism would continue, that it would never be spoken about, but that people would experience it. But why am I bringing this up? Well, because I am seeing women of color, of all color, and women who you will think are passing as white, though they're not, meaning they're passing, there's such a term. And they're passing as either Semitic or white, presenting. Though they're a quarter, whatever you want to call it, they're a quarter black. And then they have some Hispanic, and then they have some Norwegian, and then they have this, that, and the other, and the list goes on. And yet their mother is either half black or father, or whatever. And these women are going into the spiritual community, and women who are, in their minds, presenting white tea, who could have a relative. Please watch the movie The Human Stain with, Anthony Hopkins. Please watch that movie. That is an incredible movie called The Human Stain. And I don't want to give it away to you. I'd like to, but that's your homework, girl, guy, whoever is listening. Watch The Human Stain. Because, you see, I remember watching a show back in the 80s about the difference between black slavery in America and black slavery in Brazil, in the French Caribbeans. And in these other countries, if you had a half-breed child, a biracial child, if you were the white master who had relations with your woman, that child would be automatically freed. Something that Thomas Jefferson never, ever did with his babies, who were one quarter, who would, for all intents and purposes, present white. And I remember in the 80s when Oprah Winfrey had Thomas Jefferson descendants, both white and the black branch meaning some of them were darker skinned, some of them were presenting white, just so you know, and how the white branch, the actual, and in their minds, Thomas Jefferson lineage refuted that he had ever had any children with Sally Hemings, and that this was a mythos, that it was created. And yet, after extensive DNAs and some of the Jeffersons' direct descendants from his white wife, right? Whatever her name was, I don't give a fuck right now. Somebody must have stepped forward. I'll give you my DNA. We'll figure it out. And then it became accepted. Now, today, in 2025, it is an accepted fact that he had two sets of children. And why is this important? Because we had men who wrote the Constitution, as we know, that all men are created equal while they own slaves. And that is a clash of that is a massive hypocrisy. That is the actual very foundation of this country. Sorry. That's the truth. And American, and I had to live here to understand this. My father was a black GI mixed, mostly, damn near all the black people I know mixed with Native American blood, Blackfoot Indian, in this case, German Jewish, and also God knows what else. And served in World War II in a segregated army. And Europe, because Europe had a different set of laws, right? Again, some of the biracial issues of these interesting relationships between master and slave would become heiresses from plantations in Martinique, in France, for example, in England. And these women of color came into massive fucking wealth from sugar plantations. They had slaves, just so you know. And they would go into Europe to find a titled husband. But then we can go back all the way to Othello. Shakespeare's not racist because Shakespeare writes about it in his great play, Othello, about the Moors, the blackamoors, not Arab, black men and women who conquered Europe for, depending on which part of the world, whether you were in France, it would have been 500 years, but it was about 800 years in Portugal, Italy, maybe 600 years. We don't know. I don't have the actual stats, but let's just say 500 years across France, Portugal, Italy, and Spain. This is known, and he wrote about it. He wrote about the story of Othello, in love with a white Italian woman, Desdemona, and the jealousy of Iago. He was a blackamoor. He was a conqueror. And most Europeans understand that. It's like they fucking know why they have curly hair or hazel or these strange desert eyes, and the architecture that they're proud of, the Moorish architecture, Muslim architecture, and this weird Islamophobic weirdness. And my mind is traveling between what I've discussed, which are black slaves that came into our country in chains who were Muslim. Many, not all of them, some of them were from various tribes across Africa. It's a fucking continent. It's not a country, it's a continent. It means there are various countries, various racial mixtures and diversity of skin color, eye color, hair color. But some of the people that were captured were also Muslim scholars or Muslim. And they knew their language and they could write in Arabic. And it breaks my heart. Not that any other human being that's not educated in that way is less important, but it breaks my heart because the more you know, can you imagine? I mean, I just can't imagine because I know that happened. It's just common sense. I know there were betrayals. I know there was conquerings of tribes, of scholars who would have been put in chains, put on ships, and brought to the Americas to pick cotton or sugar or whatever the fuck they want, they were forced to do. And the Egyptologists, anthropologists were, when Napoleon comes into Egypt with his campaign, and Champollion, I think it's Champollion, I forgot his name exactly, but anyway, the guy who broke the hieroglyphic codes, one of his generals was black. He was mixed. But he came out dark-skinned. And he was the father, Alexandre Dumas. Alexandre Dumas, the father the father of great adventures, the Conte of Monte Cristo, the Three Musketeers. That man who wrote those books and many, many other books was 1/4 black. His grandmother was a slave. When this Russian white woman came up on YouTube to TikTok to talk about how Pushkin was black or biracial, people were up in arms, fucking losing their shit. Like they had, like something awful had just been exposed. But the Russians know. The Russians don't care. In fact, the Russians think of Pushkin, Alexander Pushkin, as a great man who brought the Russian language into, well, it was a reset. And so what I don't understand in the spiritual community, because it is a concern, is that in the spiritual community, women of color are on the fringes. And I'm seeing a lot of posts on TikTok about women of color who are also in their own right great healers, great healing manifestors, and great oracles, and great high priestesses and shamans. And they are not being fucking respected or brought into play. The YT female needs to get her shit together. My YT mother, just so you know, French woman, she had some problems, but racism was not one of them. And you need to, if you're going to be a spiritualist, you need to get your shit together regarding how you see women of color. Because I'm seeing abuses, and they're fucking not subtle in my book. I'm seeing a different way of women are being treated. And here's why I launched this live today. Because I saw a white presenting woman whose mother is black who said, I'll walk 10 steps behind my mother at Walmart and they will stop her and go through the receipt and go through all her items. But me, I go right through the gates. No problem. And she was talking about how having a black mother has really shown her the incredible toxic racism of not just this country, obviously, but many countries. But America, and I'm going to say it straight out, was the birthplace of the racism that we see today. In the way we see it, because when the anthropologists, Egyptologists were, one of the oldest universities in the world was, in the ancient times, was Timbuktu, which now Timbuktu is a joke. But it was my mother used to tell me that. My mother. So when you have Europeans that know more about Black history in this country, when you have Europeans who know more about ancient history and how Africans were intertwined, Moors were intertwined than Americans, we have a fucking problem with racism. When the spiritual community is going to act like assholes and forget that they are reincarnated souls in temporary avatars that today present white, Chinese, Japanese, whatever, then we got a fucking problem. Because you see, it takes balls to be born. In this country right now, in any country, to be born with dark skin, to be a soul, to say, I'm going to take on this mantle of being an African or African American and have dark skin and walk through and know and always being judged by what I look like, and I know I will, I'm going to take on, that takes some fucking balls. Because one of the things that, I forgot her name, a white woman who was on an Oprah Winfrey show and said, how did she put it? It was brilliant. She said, raise your hand if you want to be a Black American in America. No one raised their hand, by the way. No one. She said, oh, okay. So you probably don't understand this question. Raise your hand if you want to be an African American person in America today. No one raised their hand. She said, so you know what's happening. You just won't admit it. You know exactly what's happening. White woman. Some of these souls are coming in, man, as biracial, quadroon, octoroon, Eurasian, whatever you want to call it. They're coming in, and some of you are white coming in, and you're fucking writing, you're rewriting history. You're kicking fucking doors down. You're calling bullshit. You're doing the work, but we don't have enough people doing the work. That's the problem. This is why I'm doing this live. And I've even talked to Andromeda Flame, who is in a biracial, in an interracial relationship. She won't mind me saying that. And the racism and the way people of dark-skinned, even by their own, is insane to me. To have dark skin means this, that, and the other. Even Tibetans don't like having dark skin because of how they're treated by the Chinese. It is a problem, this obsession with white skin. It's insane. And yet, let's be honest. I mean, fuck, I go in the sun and get a tan. My skin looks fat. I love it. The darker, the better. But it's a tan. So we need to have these conversations because we're not having them. There's a lot of conversations we are being asked, but do you really think racism is a 5D fucking match? Do you really think New Earth is a fucking match to fucking racism? I mean, really, honestly. I mean, we already know that being homophobic is not a match. And I hope you know that you've been a gay man making love to your lover, a man. Or a lesbian making love to your woman, a woman. And so what's interesting about twin flames, and this, I'm going to throw this in because this is what's coming up. One of the classic challenges of twin flame union is they are different races, different religions, and sometimes a large chasm in their age. They're 15 years younger, 15 years older, 15 years or more. That's a classic. That's actually one of the signs. Why do you think that's happening? What do you think is just to fucking have fun and kick rocks and all? I mean, I'm turned on by my opposite to attract. No, that's not it. It's a spiritual fucking challenge. That's why it's happening. That's why I said, and I brought it up briefly in my last live that yesterday, that I did yesterday. And I sometimes I wonder why I fucking even do lives, to be honest, because it's not doing anything for me. But I'm constantly being pushed. It's like I'm having a spiritual battle going, I don't want to do a live today. And they're like, no, do it a live today. I don't want to do a live today. I'm fucking tired. I just want to rest. Talk about this. So that's why I'm here. I don't want to really do this because it's not comfortable for me either because how are you going to see this? And I'm so fucking tired of people saying, you're angry, you're angry. No, I'm not fucking angry. I'm passionate and urgent. There's shit to get done. I want, before I drop I want to see fucking new earth here. I want to see our planet reset. And I know that if racism and homophobic fears are continuously not spoken about, if we are afraid of our own bisexuality, for example, and you can be bisexual and make a decision to not engage. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like you can recognize that you could be attracted to men and women and not engage. You can be celibate. You could be deciding, look, yes, but I'm only going to do that. Or you can enjoy your bisexuality. Maybe in a polyamorous community. I don't know. But my point is that we're not doing the shadow work that we're supposed to be doing so we all talk about new earth, but none of us are really doing the fucking work. What's the work? Doing exactly what I'm telling you to do. Talk about racism. In the Hispanic community, I'm going to be straight up, I'm totally politically incorrect. You know what I heard constantly about Hispanic, my Hispanic friends or clients saying, well, I'm in love with a black man. Oh, well, my dad's old fashioned. No, your father's a fucking racist. Let's call it for what it is. That's not old-fashioned. That's not conservative. Your father is a racist. I'm so sick of us using elegant terms to hide the ugliness of the truth. That's not conservative. I'm repeating myself. And that's not fucking old-fashioned. That's racism. And I've seen people suffer. I remember when I was 14 years old, I was in a summer camp. And this girl had green eyes and looked like Liz Taylor. I kid you not. She looked like Liz Taylor at 14. She was the most beautiful girl to this day I've ever seen. And she was in love with a young black kid. He was 14. They were both 14. It was Romeo and Juliet all over the place, okay? And they were stopped from being together because he was black. Because she was white. Even the parents, the black parents said, no, you can't see her. She's white. Are we crazy? And she suffered. This is the 1970s. She suffered. I remember General Hospital putting an article out going, is America ready for a interracial kiss? Can you fucking imagine that after slavery? You're going to ask that question? Wait, hang on. Your people have been banging your slaves for fucking 250 years, but you're asking that fucking question? Are they ready? Dude, they've been doing it. Why do you think you have biracial, all kinds of people with various mixtures all over this country now? They've been doing it. And more than just kissing. But that was an actual question asked with a straight face. The hypocrisy is insane. Is America ready for a white man to kiss a black woman? I'll never forget that. In General Hospital. A soap opera. Thank God they're gone. Eartha Kitt was the product of a rape. Her mother was black, and whoever did that to her mother was white. And if you've ever studied or followed Eartha Kitt, it was one of the things that she had to, she was marked. And because of that, she was also abused, essayed as a child. So she had trauma like you can't. She was born with trauma. She was born with shit like that, and it continued. The thing about racism that Americans just aren't ready to fucking talk about is how ugly it was. And they don't understand black rage, black fatigue, black rage, black. It's insane. And none of the white community have put foot to ass to demand that PragerU and their little educational propaganda bullshit that slavery was. I think this is when I fucking lost my shit. When I saw PragerU doing a little cartoon, I'm sure you've seen it, of Frederick Douglass. By the way, my husband's grandfather knew Frederick Douglass, just so you know, knew him. And to say that slavery wasn't that bad, to say it, to sell it. Well, it's not that bad. It's better than being dead. No, actually, being dead was better. Do you know why? Because there are ships of slaves who decided, fuck this. We don't know where we're going, but God is better than this, and jumped off ships. Not all of them were thrown off ships to get the insurance money. Some of them literally decided to, yeah, we're done here. We're out. So actually, no, PragerU. Slavery is not better than death. Even animals know that one. What I'll say is that this country is going through a lot of pain, a lot of growing pain, because technically, compared to Europe, you're a teenage kid. You're 14. You're a 14-year-old kid that's fucking learning your sexuality, learning what's wrong and what's right. You're learning. You're not old. But if you were really serious about building a new earth, you'd be fucking putting foot to ass and demanding your high school. You'd be going to PTA meetings and superintendent schools and saying, this is the book I want my kid to learn. Or you'd fucking be homeschooling your kid. All of you would pull your kids out of school. All of you. And you'd actually create your own quasi-charter school systems, your own. And you tell the system to fuck off. If you really want a new earth, you'd fucking leave. You'd either put foot to ass and say, not these books. Not these books written by these nefarious fucks. These books. And where would you find those books? I don't know. I'd go to best practice. Which country is doing the right books? I would go to universities that are pro-human rights. What an idea. And say, what books would be good for a 10-year-old, 12-year-old? What curriculum would you... My God, with ChatGPT, we have no fucking excuse. You could actually literally write a whole curriculum within probably 10 minutes. We have no excuse. But until racism is extinguished, until we become the Hopi prophecy of the rainbow children, we really are that. And what does that mean, rainbow children? We don't care. We don't see color. Oh, I love your dark skin. I love your long, fabulous afro. I love your red curly hair. I love your freckles. I love your blue eyes. But I don't see you as different than me. Until we get to that point, we will walk right into the 22nd century still kicking rocks. And it will be this whole 100-year period will be a wash and repeat. There'll be an economic collapse. We might get a couple new wars, and we will go again into 22nd. I'm telling you, 22nd century will be the same. It will be new incarnations, new fucking beginnings. Some of us will not be a match to this fucking 3D planet. We won't be able to come here even if we tried. Many of us will say, yeah, I've done this for fucking 2,000-3,000 years. I'm not doing it. Let them figure it out. Fuck this. You see how racism works? It's actually something I've really realized with my clients is that when I had these two clients, there were two clients, I'm going to tell you. One woman that could not fathom being a man, and one client who could not fathom being a woman. But some of my clients have seen themselves in various racial avatars, from starseeds, Andromedans, to black men or women, to Asian men or women, not just white, not just whatever is accepted in the mind. And most of my clients are white or biracial or black, but most of them are white. Most of them are women. And these women are extraordinary because if I tell them or they go through hypnosis and they see themselves as a different race, they don't balk. They don't backpedal. They go right in there. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, sure. That's the consciousness that we need for 5D. It's the only consciousness that's a match to 5D. Nothing else, nothing less than that. And it's not about having white guilt, because there's a particular group of women who I don't like. One's, I forgot if she's Arabic or, I forgot, but the other one's African American. and they're having a race with dinner or a race to dinner, something like that. It's about race to dinner. And there's this whole banging the drum of 3D construct of racism instead of weaving it in with fucking spirituality. Do you understand? Because making white people guilty isn't the goal. Because some of these people that are white today were not white in past lives. Were not straight in past lives. They've had their own trauma. They've been of color. They've been judged. Maybe they were Chinese during the Opium Wars. Maybe they were in Vietnam during the Vietnam War. I have a client who actually was a Vietnamese during the Vietnam War, a man who saw himself as a soldier, I kid you not, in the 1960s. 50s, actually, late 50s, early 60s. Had no trouble digesting that. There are wonderful people out here that are not racist. It's like they're not. And they're so innocent and naive, kind of like my mother. She was so innocent and naive when it came to, it didn't occur to her. You know? She had other problems. Being bulimic and wanting to be a size 2 at 5'7". You see what I'm saying? She had those problems. You know, the Twiggy, H-chic generation of the 1960s. But racism was not it. And why? Well, she was raised in France. Why? Well, because in France, in those days at least, they understood their history. They understood human history. They understood the intermingling of peoples. They understood that the Romans, for example, intermarried with their people. It didn't occur to them. Like, slaves weren't based on color. It was based on, I fucking won your country, my little German friend, and now you're part of my fucking, you either join me or you're my slave. It's that simple. Okay? And from those issues came intermixing of races again and again. There's never been, I remember a man, he's so stupid. I'm a pure Pole. I'm pure Polish. How, my friend? If you're in the European continent, you've been conquered. That means you're not pure. The catering of this concept of racial purity is a joke. It's a joke by design. Why? To create a divide and conquer. Because the 1%, it's only a 1 percentile. Do you know how many? I'll make it up just for the hell of it, just for shits and giggles. Let's say there's 100 people and there's like fucking 1 million of us. Do you understand the problem? How do you control? If there's only 100 people that are in the 1% and there's 1 million of us, they better come up with fucking psychological shit to separate us. How else are they going to control us? How do you control, wild horses? And the bell. How do you control people? And that's how it's done. And I could go more into it, but where I'm going would be very dark. One of the famous speeches that is considered a urban myth is Willie Lynch's speech on the river. The psychology of how to keep people subservient, afraid, separated from each other. Separated for various reasons. To create jealousy amongst themselves, each other. And so they've done it very well. I often wonder if the Romans did that, but I don't think they did. This came down, I feel like some of the psychology of controlling people through making them hate themselves. You were born in sin. That's a good start. Oh, you're born. You're a baby. You're brand new. You're an hour old. You were born in sin. It's a good start. Self-loathing is a great tool. I remember seeing a little black girl. She must have been 2 or 3, saying she hated her skin. She hated her hair. Crying. It's a famous video. It went viral. I think it came out like 10 years ago. And her caretaker mother, I don't know who that was like trying to console her. No, I'm ugly, I'm ugly, I'm ugly. They've done studies of dolls, colored dolls, meaning white dolls, black dolls, this doll, that doll. I grew up with all kinds of dolls. I didn't have a preference in terms of skin color. I was given all kinds of dolls, various colors. But this little 3-year-old had somehow sponged up the message that because she had dark skin, she wasn't good enough. That's not something that I mean, this is like mind-blowing. It should make you fucking cry. How the fuck does a 3-year-old little girl that's got beautiful chocolate skin now think that she's ugly because of her chocolate, gorgeous, shiny skin? Why? How does that happen to a 3-year-old who's not even gone to school yet? It's an energy it's a frequency that our babies are picking up. You'll see videos of a little black child, a little white kid, little, 4 years old, 5 years old, hugging each other. Racism is taught. It's taught in our newspapers, in our TV, in our movies, and they never fucking shake it down. They don't really want it to end. Because why? Why don't they want? Well, because they're billionaires, and the billions are only worth billions if the system it can't collapse. It has to continue. It's kind of like the Confederate War. Do you know the Confederate dollar was worth? You could wipe your ass with it by the time they lost the war. It was paper. It was no longer money. It was no longer currency. It was worthless. So there is an agenda to keep us playing the game, racist game. It's a benefit. Follow the money. And we're going to have to grow up fast. And it's going to hurt. Thanksgiving is coming. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Have a real fucking conversation with your families. You're responsible. I'm healing my family lineage. That's how you start. That's how you start. You start having conversations. I have them with my uncle, who's French, and he can't fathom this shit. When I tell him shit like this, I remember my father trying to tell my mother, you have to live here to see it. It's like watching a fucking train wreck. I'm telling you straight up. Straight up. In Europe, there are problems. But when I was a kid, there were none. It was rare. Now it's common because culture, the movie industry did its work. I blame the movie industry. I blame a lot of cultural things that came out of this country. But still, the Europeans it's like they're naive. One of my friends, my son's lovers, she's Dutch. She taught him about how slaves would braid their hair a certain path to show a way out, an exit door, using their braids as a map, putting grains of rice in there for even seeds. So when they came to the other side of this shit show called the South with their plantations, that they would have something to start. You know what people don't understand? Is that after slavery ended, for economic reasons, it wasn't human rights, it was economic. Study that. Most of all the slaves, former slaves, had skill sets. They're the ones who made boots and shoes, and they were the ones who made chairs. They were carpenters. They're the ones who built houses. They all had skill sets. And when Jim Crow came into play, which was an absolute abomination, black people were thriving in their own little hamlets and communities which were attacked, destroyed. I never knew Central Park was once one of those communities. I never knew that. Central Park was once a community of Africans, Americans, of all bloodlines, of all mixtures that apparently were attacked, destroyed. And here we have Central Park. So when you walk on Central Park, when you take a walk, know this. There was blood there. There was loss there. There was a thriving community that was destroyed from pure racism, jealousy, impotent rage, toxic rage. Why? Why? And that's a question that is really the $100 million question. Because if we want 5D and New Earth, we can't have this. It cannot continue thriving and breathing its ugly, disgusting, sulfuric breath on the backs of our necks. It cannot. It has to be annihilated. The fact that this country had black and white toilets, the fact that there's your homework, the Green Book with Viggo Mortensen. You know, he was in Lord of the Rings. He's an amazing man, amazing human being. And he did the movie The Green Book about how African American motorists would buy this book that told them where it was safe, where was the sundown towns. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Oh, they're not so dangerous. Yeah, they are. They are. People disappear. Fact, this year we've had a number of truckers disappear or found on trees. And they didn't climb those trees on their own. Let's just leave it there. And so do you see my problem as a spiritualist? A woman who's been a man, who's been every race, who's prayed to every, bended knee to every religion. How I'm realizing I'm going, wait, I have urgency for 5D. I really want New Earth. I really want us to be happy. I want abundance. Wait, hang on. Whoa, racism. Yeah, that's not going to work. And that's the job of us as spiritualists is to understand what is stopping our ascension project. I've talked about it in length as to why your twin flame and you are not coming into union because of the current infrastructure. And then now I'm going deeper. Part of the problem of the infrastructure is racism. That is a problem. And I've talked, if you follow me on YouTube, you'll know I've been talking at length about all kinds of shit, about our root chakra being destroyed, the templates being destroyed, Yeshua and Mary Magdalene being the perfect template until it was destroyed by the Catholic Church. And why it was destroyed. We have to really do a 360 is to go, okay, I'm cleaning up house. I'm getting ready. I'm going to ascend. What's stopping us as a people, though? I know I'm going. I know I'm clearing my shit. But I want my child, my adult child, my grandchildren to have a good life. And it won't be in this system. This system's corrupt. It's poison to great minds. How many great Nikola Teslas, Einsteins, and Richard Wrights and Alec Baldwin and Tina Turner's and Grandma Moses and Modigliani and Rembrandts and Da Vinci's are we losing because this infrastructure will not allow creative minds to thrive in a safe environment, regardless of their sex or race. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm not coming from a place of pointing fingers at you and giving you white guilt, black guilt, of Asian fatigue. It's not about that. It's about let's look at this and fucking fix it, transmute it, destroy it in ourselves. If you have that, be honest. Be honest. The thugs, the criminal minds of the billionaires and the street people and whatever will remain. But we in the spiritual community have to not close our ranks and get uncomfortable when women of color and men of color come into play. And that's what I'm seeing. I'm actually seeing it, okay? I'm not telling you shit I made up. There are certain 3D mindsets. I don't care what color they are. I don't care how much money they have. I don't care if they're fucking poor, broke, thieves, or white-collar criminals, or billionaires. White-collar criminals, in my opinion. They will stay in 3D. Let them have it. But in the spiritual community, if we're allowing racism to treat people differently because of their background, or to treat, and I mean, whether we're putting them on a pedestal because they come from India, I'm sorry, I'm being politically completely incorrect. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Oh my God, you're a Swami from it. You must know more than me, or you must know more than this black woman, or this Chinese woman. Or even this Irish woman, you must know more. We can't do that. We can't look at someone's the way they look and decide that they must be better or less than. We must close our eyes to what people look like and listen to their vibration, to the knowledge and wisdom they show. Forget what they look like and what their names are. Oh my God, you must be. No, close your eyes. Listen. Listen with your heart. Listen with your body. That's a true spiritualist. This is what we're supposed to do. It's not an outfit. It's not a bindi. It's not mendi. It's not saris. Though I love saris. You'll see. You'll probably, if you ever see me, you'll see me in saris. But that doesn't mean I'm wise because I'm wearing one. Does that make sense? That's what we have to do in the spiritual community because we're fucking getting stupid. I'm sorry. We are not doing what we're supposed to do. And the white spiritual community, I'm being straight up. I don't give a fuck. You guys are being fucking racist fucks, and you need to do better. Do better, and don't come at me with your. Oh, no, I'm just no. Because if you know you're doing right, you won't come at me. You'll actually fucking go. I'm cool. I've got a nice crowd of people, and it's I don't need to prove shit to Tony. I got my shit together. But those of you who know, look around your room. Fuck, even Frank Sinatra had enough fucking sense in the 1940s and 50s. If there wasn't a black musician in his band, he wouldn't fucking sing or perform until there was. Why do you think that was happening? Why do you think he thought that strongly about it, that he literally wouldn't perform unless they brought a black musician on his band, and then he'd perform? What, do you think he just did it to be a bitch? You might not like me. You don't have to. But if you want the Hopi prophecy to come true, which, what did they say? The rainbow children. Well, if you're a homogenized little spiritual group, you better fucking start finding people of color because you're fucking up. Did you get that? Is that pretty clear? It's pretty clear. They said rainbow children. They didn't mean you're painting rainbows on your cheeks. They meant you have a rainbow tribe of people of all backgrounds, colors, cultures, religions, languages, experiences to add richness to the pot of 5D. That's what they mean. And that's the only way we're coming out of this fucking mess. I'll tell you that. All right? So hopefully I offended many people. Because who am I to be a spiritualist and not offend and not trigger the fuck out of you and make you uncomfortable? And for many of you, you're not uncomfortable at all because you're already doing it. You're already that beautiful soul that doesn't see color. You're already a fucking 5D. You're a 5D soul in a 3D fucking world. And I know how lonely that shit is. That's a very, very... I love how I always have... It's funny... It's always you four that are here. Damn near always you four. Because I'm not saying what they want to hear. So whatever you think you're doing when you're doing ayahuasca, the grandmother and this and that, and you think that you're actually fucking advanced, you're not advanced. You know what I loved about my twin? I loved him for that. And my husband, the father of my son. They both have had a palate. They both enjoyed the smorgasbord of humanity and sexuality. In other words, they'd had damn near every woman, every color, every size in their bed. Or they found women of every color, every size attractive. I love that. I adore that. I think that's a wise man. I think that's a man who realizes that beauty comes in multiple forms, from the darkest ebony skin to the whitest, palest skin. It's all beautiful. It's all worthy of attention and love. None of it is above the other. None of it. There's a famous scene with Sean Connery as 007, and he's just had sex with a Chinese woman. And he says, and very politically fucking incorrect, right? She says, what do you prefer? Me or white women or something like. She actually says it. And he says, well, it's the difference between having, I'm making it up because I'm trying to remember, Peking duck and Chateaubriand. They're both good. I think we need to stop being politically correct and just fucking talk like human beings. I'm talking to you as if you were sitting across from me and we were at a cafe having a coffee. In Paris, in Florence, in New York City. I don't care. But I'm never going to be politically correct because I'm not. I like to have raw, real conversations about subjects that are triggering so that I can become a better human being and so that you and I can share things that can make us better as souls, as multidimensional souls. And if how I talk makes you uncomfortable, then I'm not for you. Go back to your Ponyland, Candyland, cotton candy bullshit. Enjoy. I probably won't see you in 5D. And yeah, it sounds arrogant. Well, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I know what it takes. And I know that there are teachers out there that know even much more than me about what it takes. Okay? I've yet to meet one. Most of my teachers talk about spirituality in a very pasteurized way. I still admire and respect their wisdom. But just like I feel like the root chakra needs to be worked on, not just the top chakras, from the heart chakra up. The root chakra is racism. The root chakra is sexism. The root chakra is misandry and misogyny. This is all the shit we need to be working on. Hating men won't help you. Hating women, if you're a man, won't help you. Realizing that there are people who are just pieces of shit. It doesn't matter what color, who they pray to, and what gender. It doesn't matter. They're assholes, period. It's so simple. It simplifies how you discern or judge people. You're like, oh, asshole. Doesn't matter. It's a man. Yeah, woman. Don't want to deal with that. Good. Don't. You're going to have a very small crew of tribe starseed members around you. We don't need 100,000 people. You just need maybe 5 solid people that you can fucking trust with everything. And if we start merging and finding ourselves, each other, right, in the world and creating communities, then there'll be 100 people, 144 people. What a number, right? And we will start expanding in being able to be with each other as family, the rainbow children. Will become the embodiment of that prophecy, that Hopi prophecy coming true, finally. I remember my husband, he was a beautiful man, 20 years old, a sexual experience with a white woman who said, oh my God, and my father found out I was in bed with you, he'd harm you. Can you imagine saying that to a man? A black man? Yeah, it's raw shit. That's what people hear. Do you think that was appropriate? So she fetishized him, right? It's taboo. I can't. It's taboo. Oh my God, it's taboo. It turns me on. And that's a problem. That's a real problem. Because that's not love. That's deviant taboo sex. And that right there is racism. You see the problem? So we need to kind of get real about it. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Just fucking own it. Go, do I fetishize? I mean, men fetishize. There are men who prefer Asian women. You know that. We're going to play games here. Oh, no, that never happens. That's not what's happening. Yeah, it fucking happens. So that's not love. That's fetish. That's racism, my friend. That's what it looks like sometimes. And we have to deconstruct it in ourselves. And we have to be honest. And that's what I mean by shadow work. It's not everyone's ready. I love how people, oh yeah, shadow work. No, shadow work isn't just, oh, Uncle Billy, essayed me when I was, whatever. No, that's the beginnings of it. That's when you're in your 30s. Okay? And then after that, once you're done with that, right? Then after that, you get gritty. You start realizing other shit. Oh shit, this is coming up. Oh God, this is coming up. Jealousy, racism, and other things. Confusion over what you want, over who you are, and what is true. And once you become more multidimensional in experiencing yourself in this avatar temporary body, it's temporary, my friend. It's you'll be out of this body in a blink of an eye. And then you'll look down on yourself, from the ethers, looking down at who you were in this body, believing that this was all you were. And you'll realize how limited, how you were boxing yourself in. I think ultimately, the more you go into this journey of ascension and you demand more of yourself and those around you, the more you will feel very lonely. And then eventually you will meet your tribe. There's a purification that is being asked of us before we meet each other physically, face to face. I really believe that. And I believe that many of us are going to make it. And I also believe that many of the people we love will not. And that's okay too. Because you have to understand it's about divine timing. And they need to kind of get to that place of urgency where they start asking really hard questions that make them very uncomfortable. See, urgency, if you're not feeling urgency, I don't know what to tell you. But I know I have a client who went through a nervous breakdown recently, breakthrough. And he said to me, I feel such urgency. I'm like, yeah, I know, I feel it too. You're not alone. A lot of us are feeling this urgency. It's almost like there's a time, like we have to be somewhere by midnight. Or else our vehicle is going to turn into a pumpkin. Or something. I don't know. But something's about to happen. And a lot of us are feeling it. If you're feeling it, you're not alone. I'll tell you that. All right, I'm going to go. Thank you so much. Actually, I'm going to give you an oracle card on this. From the deck of Isis. It's from the deck of Isis. I am going to do that. I'm going to read you the whole thing. Because I want you to see what is the message. Because that was a pretty heavy talk. I don't really like having them with you personally, out there in the world, but I have them with my friends all the time. This is how we talk. We don't talk small talk ever. And I know you love that, but this is what I mean by not small talk. This is it. Shit like this. So I'm going to ask, what do they need to know about the whole experience that I just talked about? Pyramid of light, step your vibration deeper into love. Well, that's fucking true. Let me read it to you. That's fucking extraordinary. I appreciate you, Tony, and all your wisdom. Oh, you're so sweet, Rachel. So let me go ahead. Thank you, and your wisdom. Rachel is, follow Rachel. She's got she's a great content creator and healer. Let me go ahead and look at Pyramid of Light. And also Mama Yeti. If you make a comment, Mama Yeti. If you make a comment, follow Mama Yeti. Tina, love you, Mama Tony. Thank you for your guidance and words of wisdom. You're so sweet. I'm so glad you're here. It's always a certain number. It's always the same people, though. I wish it went out to other people because we really need all hands on deck, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? All right, so 134. Let's go at 134. So what is 134? Oh, 8. Karma. Holy shit. Okay, let's go. Let's see what's going on with 134. And let me read it to you, okay? So sit back, close your eyes. Now listen to this. It's all it is a pyramid, by the way, and there's the Eye of Horus, and there's like this sun exploding in this card. Again, this is by Alana Fairchild. It's called the Isis Oracle. It says psychic protection. Step your vibration deeper into love. As a being growing in significant light, darker energies can become more attracted to you. There's nothing to fear and only more mastery and awareness of the power and protection of divine love to experience. Here's a guidance on the skills you have within you now to deal with any undesired interferences. The pyramid of light confirms that energies have been causing interference with your path, and it is time now to end that interference with love and compassion. This oracle brings you confirmation that you are growing spiritually, and as such, there are higher levels of responsibility and skill required of you to continue to thrive and blossom to even deeper places of spiritual expansion. These new levels will feel joyful to you as they bring you to greater personal mastery and freedom from fear. Sometimes when you are growing your light, darker energies become more interested in you. Do you understand when you feel like you're being attacked, when you feel like shit's going wrong, you're actually on the right track? In other words, you're becoming dangerous to the powers that be in the dark void of evil. So when you start waking up, right, you might be attacked in your bed. You might feel like there's a force in your room. And if that happens to you, I want you to go on my TikTok or my YouTube channel, wherever you are, under my playlist, and start doing the 4 corners above and below. I had to tell my son to do that recently because he was having some massive nightmares that were insane. They were not oracle, they were like lucid dreams. And so I said, you need to start doing that every night. So it's called the 4 corners above and below. Okay? And that's a protection for your sleep. Now, if you're being attacked during the day, start your morning doing the 4 corners above and below. Okay? So then you're protected. But it is a good sign. When shit's happening, it's a good sign. If I have time, I'll tell you a story of that truth that I experienced that was hysterical. But frightening, but hysterical. So let me continue. So freedom from fear. Sometimes when you're growing your light, darker energies become more interested in you. There's nothing to be afraid of because no energy can interfere with you without your permission. And if you have unconsciously given permission by action or deed in this or other lifetimes, you are free. You have the free will to withdraw the permission from a place of peace and love within you right now. The key to handling any energy effectively, even that energy which you no longer wish to have connected to your energetic field, is to have compassion and respect in your heart, combined with a firm boundary and understanding of the principles of psychic protection. There are practices which are easy and helpful for you to use to nurture your light and make it easier for you to go into that place of inner peace and love on a daily basis, and that help to protect and nourish the energy of your home and workplace too. One such practice recommended for you now is the pyramid of light. This can be added to any other spiritual or inner work practice, and yet will also stand on its own. It can be used on a person's physical space, such as a home or workplace, or a venue for a special occasion, and even placed around a project. The ritual below will clear you at any time you feel that there are forces interfering with your free will or life plan. Sometimes you just sense blocks that you know are not coming from within, and you know are not serving the higher unfoldment, and they need to be released. Excuse me. You can use this ritual or a skilled spiritual healer to help you with this process, but know that what you most need is a compassionate heart and enough confidence. Did you hear that? Confidence. Confidence. To realize, that you alone give or revoke permission for any being to be connected with your energetic field, seeking to exert influence over your thoughts, actions, or life choices, either consciously or not. Let me stop here for a minute. That's why I'm asking you guys to have the kahunas. Yeah, it's pretty ballsy to do it. To basically rewrite your soul contract with planet Earth, with God, with all these souls that surround you that you love and care about. Rewrite the contract into 5D. In other words, you're saying, my contracts were for 3D. I revoke all contracts with, 3D. They're all 5D now. And so there's a whole process I did. I think it's on YouTube. Sometimes we just need to remind ourselves of the power of our free will and choice. If any being in the physical world or the inner world ever tells you that you have no power of choice as a human being do not believe them. Yeah, there's a lot of people pushing that on the pulpits of the world, saying you have no choice, it's God's will. No, God gave you free will. So how the hell does that make sense? Make it make sense. If God gave me free will, but it's God's will that I have absolutely no power, autonomy, sovereignty over my soul, then how the fuck does this work? Now, you women can relate to that. You don't want your twin to come to you because you demand it. You want your twin to come to you because they love you and they're healed, or they're seriously on their healing path. They're ready for you. You don't want them to come to you forced. You want them to come to you by what? Free will. Well, guess what? The same thing with God. They are in deception, and they are not to be trusted. They may believe what they are saying, but they are not honoring the innate spiritual gift of free will that every human soul was given as a gift of in gratitude for coming to this earth to help service to her awakening. Your free will is your most fundamental spiritual inheritance as a human being, and it cannot be taken by any other except in illusion. Once you release this, you can claim back your power at any time. The Pyramid of Light says that you may have beings who think they are helping you, but are not of unconditional love, and therefore, are better to be released from your energy field. These beings may or may not be in physical form. They may or may not appear as very spiritual teachers or helpers. The oracle indicates that there are also thoughts, feelings, and other energies around you that are not helping you. And with the easy ritual below, you can clear all of that and feel that your path is clearer and easier with less fog and confusion. So I'm going to read you the ritual of light. Okay? Sit quietly, preferably with your legs crossed underneath you or on a chair with your back straight and your arms resting in your lap, your palms facing upwards and your fingers just resting open. Imagine, sense, perceive, or feel an enormous shining eye of the divine gazing out from the center of the sun. Imagine that this enormous eye in the center of the sun is made of pure white light with flecks of neon violet in the center and around the edges of very light particle. The light is electric violet, alive and powerful with spiritual energy. Imagine this huge eye as a powerful point of light above your head. Then visualize, sense, perceive, or intend that this point of light shoots out in 4 directions, landing as 4 separate points beneath you, forming a square base for your pyramid of light with each point joining together. The base of the pyramid of light is filled with electrical violet light. Each of the 4 corners of the base shoot light up to the point above your head, forming the apex and 4 sides of the pyramid of light, which then are filled with electric violet light. Imagine within the pyramid of light 7 stars of light now form, made of pure white light with neon violet in the center and in the edges of every light particle. Each star of light within your pyramid aligns with each of your 7 energy centers. I'm going to invite you to do 9 stars, because you want to do the 9 somatic chakras. But let's continue. One at the top of your head, the next at your forehead, the next at your throat, then your heart space in the center of your chest, your solar plexus around the abdominal area, the belly, and the base of the spine. Then 2 additional stars form above the crown and beneath your body in the earth, all contained within your pyramid of light. If the pyramid needs to expand in size to allow these additional 2 stars to fit comfortably within it, let that happen now. Finally, allow 4 smaller stars to form in the palms of your hand and soles of your feet. You are completely and thoroughly contained within your cleansing protective pyramid of light now. Stay there for a few moments and really feel it. Say out loud with a firm, peaceful, and loving voice that does not waver. As a sovereign being of light, I now claim full ownership of my energy field. And any being or entity that is draining my energy or fueling me with fear no longer has my permission to be in my energy field. You must leave, beloveds. I honor you and wish you well, but you cannot stay here anymore and you cannot return. Of my own free will and through divine grace and the protection of unconditional love, this is now so. So be it. Repeat this statement up to 3 times if you feel the need for it growing stronger each time. If necessary, but always coming from love and never from force. Force comes from fear, and you don't need it anyway. Coming firmly from a place of love and clear boundaries is more than enough to get the job done. So let's say it again. As a sovereign being of light, I now claim full ownership of my energy field, and any being or entity that is draining my energy or fueling me with fear no longer has my permission to be in my energy field. You must leave, beloveds. I honor you and wish you well, but you cannot stay here anymore and you cannot return. Of my own free will and through divine grace and the protection of unconditional love, this is now so. So be it. Now, can I just stop this, okay, for a minute? No. You don't need to write this down. You have the energy. I don't agree with what she's saying, and I'll tell you why. That's why I read it 3 times. I'm going to read it a 3rd time. We're going to rewrite it again. As a sovereign being of love, I now claim full ownership of energy field, and only beings of light and power have the permission to surround me now. Why am I saying that instead? Because unfortunately, the monkey mind does not understand the following. Fueling me with fear no longer has my permission. It doesn't, all it hears is fueling me with fear. Why is that? Because we've been programmed as a program to only catch what we fear. Words of fear, evocative words. So rather than say, this is not what I don't want, which I totally disagree with, you don't want to say what you don't want. What you want to say is claim what you do want. And what do you want? Powerful beings of light that protect you and offer sacred space. And only the highest light of the highest intention of divine love is allowed in this space. Do you understand where I'm coming from here? So I don't want you to copy this. Don't listen to this on YouTube and start copying what I just said. In other words, I want you to put it in your own words with the intention. I love the I am a sovereign being of light. Love that. Love it. And I now claim full ownership of my energy field. And do you understand? I love that. But I do not like any being or entity that is draining my energy. Who the fuck? Don't tell the universe what you don't want. What the fuck? Tell them what you want. You don't want to. If I was telling you how to manifest a good man or a good lover, I wouldn't say, I don't want a cheater. I'd say, I want a monogamous man or woman. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, do you understand? So let's continue. I would never call them beloveds because they're not beloveds. That's a lie. See, and the soul knows it's a lie. Just because I love her doesn't mean I agree with everything she says, okay? I think she's one of the best oracle writers on the planet, but that doesn't mean I'm going to follow, Alana Fairchild, kumbaya, let me be on obeisances to you. No, fuck that, You got to kind of like create your own shit. Fairchild, kumbaya, let me be on obeisances to you. No, fuck that, You got to kind of like create your own shit. You honored it. No, you would say, I honor my 5 archangels. I bring in my 5 archangels, honestly, or 4 or whatever, or 1, whatever you're into. And you would not say, I honor you. I honor your protection. You would say that to God. You would say that to your protecting light being, your team. I honor you, not fucking evil. What the fuck are we doing here? And yeah, you can say of my own free will and through divine grace and the protection of unconditional love. I agree with that line. That's it. That's all I agree with. Does that make sense? Then say the following out loud. I ask that the pyramids be held in place for the coming week or for however long serves my highest good. Honestly, you can do the pyramid of light. I'm going to stop here for a minute. Do the pyramid of light, but if I were you, I would do the four corners above and below. I seriously would do that. And then go into the pyramid of light, do that. And so it becomes like, I would even go so far as to maybe call in Markaba, where you're like within the Markaba, which is two pyramids, right? And walking around with that as your protection. Incantation. I am love. Love that. I agree with this. I am love. I am light. To manage my own energy field, I have every right. Compassion, peace, and strength. I am. I would never say I witnessed the dark. I would say I carry peace in my heart. In my energy, there is space only for love. I would say instead, in my energy, my space in my heart is for love. I am love. I am love. I am unconditional love to myself and to the planet, to all sentient beings. I am unconditional love. I am unconditional love. I am unconditional love. So that's what she says. And honestly, I wouldn't do it in English. I would do it in Sanskrit. Ahom prema. Ahom prema. Ahom prema. So that would be the Sanskrit as an incantation of power, using Sanskrit's vibrational power to scatter that intention across this planet and into the galaxies. That's how I roll. Well, you do what you want, but that's what I would do. And I'm not going to read the whole thing on the next card, but I did have an intention of doing 3 cards. So I'm going to do another one from the Isis deck. And here we have Goddess of 10,000 names. Isis, endless emanation of the priestess. So many of us are fractals of Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, but also we're fractals of the 10. So many of us are fractals of Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, but also we're fractals of the 10. So that's what happens when your phone goes dead. Anyway, oh, I do that already. Okay, great. That's what happens when yeah. So my apologies. So that was the Isis of 10,000 names. I love that. And then let me get another card. I got two cards that came out. So it's going to be a total of 4. So knot of Isis. Okay, so the knot of Isis. Energetic stabilization with the buckle of the beloved. I don't understand that one. Let's move on. Enter the chamber of healing in the divine chamber of the Lady Isis. So I think the pyramid of light is the chamber of Isis. I would say create your own healing energetic protection field, right? And when you read these things, hopefully this is helping you. When you read these things that, from these great people, I mean, you're like, she's published, she's widely published, widely circulated, widely respected. But, whatever, even when I teach you something, right? If you think I'm teaching you something and you don't agree with it, put in your own fucking words, man. I mean, just don't do things verbatim. The way the new templates are being built is that think of us as quilters. We're all sitting around across this planet, and we're quilting patches of new energetic intention and to create the 5D template. Do you understand? So you may like some of the things I say, you may not like some of the things I say, but you see a nucleus of truth in what I say, and I highly urge you to then rewrite it or reset it in your own way so that it is authentic and it feels it feels true to you, honestly. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Thank you for waiting, by the way. I'm sorry about that. All right. Any questions or comments? Any questions or comments? Any questions at all? At all? It's not Isis. Her Oracle deck, Isis, is not my real favorite. It's not one of my favorites. I mean, I like it, but I don't love it. I love Kali. Her Kali deck is amazing, but I have no fucking idea where it is. But I am going to go with Kyle Gray because I want to do some more messages that are a little more down to earth, if you don't mind. So the Pyramid of Light was perfect for you guys. I love it. Two more cards. So we've got the Lord Shiva, and I'm going to read to you what it says. Okay. All right. Okay, perfect. So I've got the Lord Shiva, transcendence, rise up, honor your inner force. Steps are being given. Dance with the universe. Beautiful. Then the next card is Paul the Venetian, experiencing grace. Share your gifts with grace. Ways of inspiration and love are coming to you. And finally, the last card, which I find very interesting because the violet flame was definitely being used in the whole whatchamacallit, in the whole pyramid, you know, when it kept saying the violet eye, the violet electrical energetic violet. So here you've got the holy amethyst, divine alchemy. Move beyond current challenges. Focus on what you desire. Focus on what you desire, and don't be afraid of your desires. Like try to separate yourself. If I were you, I would do two things. I would do a column that says what you desire in 3D, right? And then go up completely unhinged, right? And what do you really desire? You know what I'm saying? Like 3D desire may be, I want to make 7 figures a year. That's 3D desire, yes? And I'm not putting it down. I'm just saying, okay? And then 5D desire would be, I don't need money. I have abundance wherever I go. I am rich. Do you see? That's 5D desire. And 5D desire scares people. Because 5D desire means, well, what will I do if we don't have cell phones? Well, what will we replace cell phones? Well, how are we going to do this if there's no salad? Like, what's going to happen, right? That's the fear of 5D. I'm also realizing that also. The reason why we're still kind of struggling, excuse me, is because people want 5D as an idea, but they're terrified of the reality of what that means. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Any questions on it? Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Any questions on that? On the fear of 5D? In how it's going to play out. How will it look? 5D is everything comes to us with ease. 3D is the hustle. 3D is exhausting. 3D is exhausting. 5D, everyone has land, right? We all live helping each other, loving each other, having our own privacy, having our own libraries, it could be that we have technology, but using crystals, and it's almost like we become Nicholas Tesla overnight, where many of us, and we share, or some of us don't do that. We do other things that download immediately, and we share the knowledge of how to communicate long distance. And the illusion of long distance, is that in 5D? That's a question, right? And I remember, I'm going to tell you something. I didn't tell you this. So I've told you before that I've done, I did a gong ceremony, right? So at the bottom of my feet, the gong player was playing the gong, right? It was just me and her. And the vibration of the gong was going up my feet, all the way up my knees, my thighs. And then it went through the solar plexus. And then I felt my heart beating really fast, like a moment of panic, kind of like when I did the ayahuasca, grandmother medicine. And I had to breathe through it. I literally took deep breaths, and then my heart exploded. And then suddenly my DMT fucking erupted. My third eye was boom, and I started having visions, okay? And one of the first visions I had, and I'm not going to tell you the rest because, but the first vision I had was of me running up a hill with another girl. I think I was probably 18, 19 years old, in another dimension. That was obvious. And we had this incredible shining skin, and our hair was long, but it looked like ribbons. It was like a different optical. It was like colors you don't see on this planet. It was richer colors, more dense, more pure, and ribbons. And we were wearing what appeared to be like silk dresses, long silk dresses. And we were both running up a hill. I was catching my breath. I knew I could take one leap and get to the top of that mountain, but I enjoyed catching my breath. I enjoyed the dew of perspiration. I enjoyed it. And the landscape looked like Switzerland, to be honest. It looked like Tibet, but Tibet, Switzerland. It looked like Switzerland. If you've ever seen Switzerland, you know what I mean. And it was insane, because in that moment I realized, oh my God, I could totally fucking jump that. I mean, I could be there in a blink of an eye, but I love this feeling of running up that hill. It makes me feel so good. So I'm going to do that instead. So is 5D that? Is it that we choose sometimes to take a 10-mile walk and just walk it? But yet we could be there in a thought. So it's not about really making a decision on what 5D is going to be. It's about, really, the main decision is to not be afraid of the unknown. I think that's what people are really getting tied up over, is how will it look? How will it be? How will I survive? And you have to understand, the nature of 5D is there is no system of survival. Survival is 3D. It's not 5D. So it's not that. So the question I would ask you is, what are you afraid of in 5D? Or what frightens you? Is there something that frightens you? Be honest. Like, don't be afraid to go, I don't know. It could be you don't know, but if you feel a sense of angst, like, how is it going to play out? How is it going to look? Am I going to be safe? Will I be alone? What is going through your mind? Because I'm realizing that there must be some blocks that we're all having individually and collectively. I mean, I did a whole thing on racism, so we know that's part of it, and sexism. But my question to you is, what is it about 5D that you might think you're not ready for? Now, we know that many of us are not ready. We're not a frequency match to it, hence why we're still here talking, right? You're listening to me, I'm talking to you, clearly, right? But what else is there? Is it unfinished business? I think for me, it's a lot of unfinished business. Okay? A lot of unfinished business. A lot of forgiveness that I still haven't forgiven. I'm not walking on water, my friends, clearly. So I have shit I still have to forgive. I have to forgive myself. I have to master forgiving myself. And I have to master forgiving others. I know that's part of my problem. Okay? So my question to you is, what is your problem? You know what I mean? Mine is a fear of the unknown, so I've been working on that. Fantastic. Thank you, Rachel. It's really honest. We have to trust. Yes. 5D is not hell. It's not hell. I mean, I think you know that. I know that. And many of you have had optical, open-eyed hypnosis in some aspect. So I want to invite you back to remembering, in what place were you sitting with your eyes open, seeing a shifting horizon. Maybe the people look different, the horizon looked different, the colors were sharper, purer, more complex. Maybe you haven't had that experience yet. I don't know, right? But what I do know is that your altered states of consciousness have shown you in some aspect or a feeling of what 5D would feel like. You know? So I think that's some of the work we need to do. And the fear of the unknown is actually, it's programmed into us to fear the unknown. So that's a very good place to start. If you think to yourself, well, I don't know what I'm afraid of. I'm ready. And I'm like, yeah, you're ready, but not ready. Just like I'm saying that to myself, just so you know. I'm ready, but clearly here I am, sitting in a fucking 3D chair talking to you. So am I really ready? And for me, it's forgiveness. I know that's part of it. It's forgiveness. It's trust. It's, for many of you who are in a twin flame dynamic, it's also being willing and ready to leave your twin behind if you have to. Are you ready for that as well? And a lot of you will not ascend because you don't want to leave the people you love behind. That's another reality. Hell, you won't even fucking leave a country. I have twin flames who won't even leave the city they live in. So how in the fuck are you going to go from, I'm not leaving the city I live in because my twin lives in that city and I want to be available to him or her. How the fuck are you going to go into 5D? I mean, if you're not willing to even leave a city, how are you going to go into 5D? Thinking that you might leave him behind, her or him behind. Learning to detach and trust the universe. Exactly. Believe in myself. But it's not about belief in myself, because I think a lot of us we believe in ourselves. We just, there's other blocks. Trust me. There's other blocks. So you need to write it down. You need to journal, write it down, do a column of what do I want in 3D? Now, what would I want in 5D? Oh, look, I'm having a hard time looking at, I can write 20 things that I want in 3D, but I'm having a hard time writing down what I want in 5D. That means that you can't fathom what kind of life you could have there. So that, I think it's a good question, in my opinion. All right. So I'm going to go now, finally. And I want to thank you again for being here. I'll have this on YouTube. Please comment on YouTube. There's a thing called hype on YouTube. It's helping small content creators get known. If you like my videos on YouTube, help me out by spreading a word. Because honestly, I want more than, say, 50 people to hear my stuff. I'm not even close to being monetized, so that's not even why I'm asking. I'm asking you because I genuinely want our planet to fucking get out of 3D. I genuinely don't want to see 2 fucking years of slaughtering of people with fake ceasefires and watching women on fucking trees into Sudan being tortured. I don't want to see that shit anymore. I don't want that to be a reality anymore. So if you see content creators like myself that you like on YouTube, just hit the hype. It's fucking free. It's not going to cost you a dime. And just try to share their videos. Not just mine, but share videos of people you really think can get us out of this fucking shit show that is controlled by the 1%. Okay? Much love on your journey. Namaste.